a text on the way here this morning. It was my wife. She was in Atlanta this weekend, had a little girl trip. She said, "Scott, it'd be great. Just be yourself. Just don't tell all the corny jokes." So, that's my instructions. We're going to dig in this morning, and really the song that we picked before in the Potter's is exactly what we're wanting this morning. See, Missy was getting ready for this trip a couple days ago. I had told her about a guy named Andy Stanley. He's got a pretty famous dad too, and he's got a pretty good church. I think 3 campuses in Atlanta. It's called North Point. Andy's a great speaker. So Missy was trying to figure out where it was and what it was, and all of a sudden popped up on her little Google browser was a headline, and it was this pastor of a mega church down in Atlanta that after he filed divorce from his second wife, made the public statement that he is homosexual and has been all his life. Well, you hear that kind of stuff all the time. Yeah. So you're not surprised, but this is a guy we had seen before. And he was affiliated with this church called Church in the Now, and they were sort of associated with our church in Roanoke, which is really strong and biblically conservative. And this guy had been there before. We were in the service, and Missy and I, I'm a preacher's kid. We sort of measure these preachers. We'll give them an A, B, C, or, what you're going to give me this morning. And she looked at me, she goes, "This is just something not right." So she said a little more than that. But that morning, he looked the part. I mean, he could have been on TV for sure. But he was introducing, he had written his own translation of the Bible that he was selling in service that morning. And this is a guy that, through the years, he graduated from a mainline Pentecostal Bible college. But for some reason, his church wasn't affiliated with any leadership or denomination, sort of out of the fold. When we went to his church in Atlanta one time with some friends of ours from our church in Roanoke, they had a neat fundraising tool they used. They had a lottery every Sunday morning. Hey, it may work. But you would come in, you'd buy your lottery ticket. 50% would go to the church, and 50% they'd call your number out in church. A little odd. I don't know if you guys have done that before. We haven't. But this guy's not a young guy. He's got adult kids. And even after year after year after year of preaching a gospel, he decided at 50 he's going to change it. And it sort of got me thinking of false gods. And I was thinking sort of about the Old Testament. There's some scary looking ones. We don't have a lot of pictures in our Old Testament. If you look them up online, they're really sort of funny looking. But today we don't carve a lot of false gods. I don't have any in my house. I'm sure you have fewer than 3. But our society, and sometimes we create our own gospel. And gospel isn't the right word, because gospel is good news. We create our own philosophy. I've got a friend that I used to go to a discipleship program with, and he's actually named his last name. It's called Quanism. His last name is Quan. It's the just goofiest stuff you ever heard of. Wouldn't even pass freshman philosophy at ETSU, which I took. But there's a philosophy and there's a way now in our society that wants to create their own religion, create their own way. And I was talking with another friend as we were driving back and forth to a trip in Richmond, and we were talking about parenting, and she, do I have my kids sleep with me, or do I have my kid in her own bedroom? And I told her, I said, the reality is, if you want to have your kids sleep with you, you can go buy a book that'll tell you the family bed is the way to go. And if you want your kid to be in their own bed, you can go buy a book, and that book will agree with you and tell you your kid should be in their bed. So we've got a society that you can pick the flavor of the month, not only in parenting, but in politics, and also in religion. We can define our own relationship. Isn't that pretty cool? See, in a relationship, there's a couple things you got to have, and we're going to talk about why people do this. See, in a relationship like me and my wife, there are things that I want out of the relationship. And then, that's the things I want. And then there are the things that I'm willing to give in the relationship. Do you agree with that? I mean, that's pretty consistent. I think, and it goes with father-son. Hey. Goes with husband-wife. Goes with pastor, member. You see, the thing is, what I want from my wife, I want her to be dressed to the nines 24/7. She should go to bed looking pretty, wake up looking pretty. I'm sure you all have wives that do the same thing. She cooks just like Betty Crocker all the time, or whoever that stock broker fraud was, whatever her name, Martha Stewart. Betty Crocker Stewart. We'll have to do Martha Stewart. You know, every morning I get up, I've got my pair of socks, and I've got my clean undies in the drawer, and that's what I want from my wife. Now, there's a longer list than that, but I'm giving you a short example. What I want to give to my wife, it's a shorter list. And she can go to Walmart once a month, and she can use the $20 I give her wisely. I'll let her sleep with me every night, if she doesn't snore. Well, see, what happens in our relationship with God, while we create these false religions, false ideas, what I want from God, I'm not getting. See, I want to be happy all the time. I want to have a brand new Bentley. That may be a little bit much. New F-150 will be fine, Lord. We have these things we want. And there's this tension. God, your marriages don't have this because you all give enough and you all get enough right. But there's that expectation we have of God and saying, God, why don't I have what Jack has? Or why can't I play the saxophone like Todd does, which I can't? We cross ways with God and we say, well, if he's not going to give me what I need, there must be another way. Or we may conversely think, yeah, he can do it, but I'm not willing to give what he requires. Yeah, I get it, God. I know you want me to follow you. I know you want me to do these things. But I'm just not ready yet. So you've got this part of us that wants more than we have. And when do we want it? Now. Yeah, now. And there's the other part of us that's unwilling to trust enough to give him what he's asked for. And that's when the problems arise. And that's where we get creative. In the Old Testament, this is a constant tension. You know, they were, at one point, the Israelites would be following the Lord and they'd be worshiping, and Moses would go up on the hill, and then what would they do? They're down there with this golden calf. Created by their hands to get them where they wanted to go in the way they wanted to get there. They yo-yoed back and back. None of us are like that, right? We're all steady and straight and true. God was really clear about this, and he said in the Old Testament, Exodus 20, you shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. You know, and I think he could have probably stopped after just that first phrase, you shall not make for yourself. See, we've got customized religions nowadays. You know, on some of Dom's games, you can customize your character. I can have big muscles, or I can be tall and skinny, or I can have brown hair, black hair, or be a different race. And it's cool. And we do that with our religion. I think I'll take chapters 1 through 3, but let's just leave chapter 4 out. That's a little bit more than what I want to give. In the Old Testament, there was a god that his name was Baal. You guys ever heard of him? Baal or Baal? He was one that the Israelites would bounce back and forth with. And the thing with him, as I researched it, I expected to hear about this particular deity. You know, I wanted to know what he looked like. I wanted to know where he was from, what region, when did he come about, what was he a god of, and I just wanted to figure out who he was. I was researching for this morning. But the more I found out, Baal was whatever they wanted him to be, depending on where they were. He was, at one point, he was the sons of El. He was one of the son of El, so he was the executive god of the pantheon. He was the god of thunder and winter storms. He was a warrior god, but later he became the god of vegetation and then fertility. And it wasn't just Baal, it was Baal something else. And you could look, and there were this, look at the list. And I thought, well, this is going to be, how am I going to do this? I can't figure out which one to talk about. And I realized this is perfect for us. Because what happens is our religion is our religion. We create it best based on where I am right now, based on what I need. If I need rain, he's the god of rain. If I need supply, the fertility god, then I'll look to that God that I created supply. And throughout the Old Testament, it changed. Their religion changed. God said, here's who I am. Here's how to worship me. And they said, no, we don't want that. We'll create this God in our image. And if you look at the gods of the Old Testament, you can do a Google search, and they pull up all these different pictures. And you know what? They look an awful lot like people. Isn't that weird? They look like us. The gods we create look like us. Much easier to relate to a God that looks like us, and a philosophy that feels the way I feel and thinks the way I think. And we shape it at the potter's hand. We don't want let's let the potter stay over there. I'm going to create this one, God. And you've seen like kindergarten art. It doesn't look quite the same. That's us compared to God's work. You know, if I created a God, probably 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. Definitely have a peaked nose. You gotta have that. They look like me. And we do that. We don't want to shape it based on others' experience. Forget what the old people think. What do they know? It's the church in the now. We're going to create it based on today's philosophies, today's values. Because I'm creating my God, my religion, on my own image. They make false claims. In fact, the title of Baal actually means Lord. Try to look like our God. Try to have the same philosophies. Islam says that Allah is the same as the biblical God, but guess what? They don't act the same. They don't say to do the same things. Their beliefs are mutually exclusive. They may claim to be like our God, but they are nowhere close. Nowhere close. It says in 1 Kings chapter 18, how long halt ye, obviously King James, between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if it Baal, then follow him. Ask me. Nail it down. What's true? Because a lot of times if I ask you what you believe, can you tell me what you believe? When I went to that church's website, their beliefs were really sort of a skeleton. They wouldn't tell you a whole lot of what they believe because they don't get nailed down. But if I looked at you this morning and said, do you really